All right, so thank y'all for coming. I'm Luke Godwin. I'm from Godwin Motors in Columbia, South Carolina. We are a buy here, pay here dealership. We've been in business 34 years. I'm third generation car dealer. My grandfather was a Ford dealer in a little small town of Winsboro, South Carolina. From the mid 70s until the early 80s, the recession kind of got the better of him during that time, and my dad opened the store we are at now in 1985. I've been working day-to-day operation in business since 96 when I was in college. And then as soon as I graduated, I took a little sabbatical, but started full-time back running the dealership on September 1st, 2001. So you know what happened 10 days later. And it just, that was a tiresome time for us all. But it also, it shows you how run a business properly can get you through hard times and make you better because of it. So anyway, today we're going to talk about maintaining your reputation in buy here, pay here dealership. You could probably say, hey, what does it matter? I'm a buy here, pay here store. I don't need 5-star Google reviews, right? Well, you do, because your reputation matters 100% no matter what your business is. Who in here, show of hands, keep your hands up too. So, who in here has ever gotten a 5-star review on Google? All right, I want to see everybody's hand. Keep it up, keep it up. Who's got a negative review? Everybody still? Okay. All right. So, that right there, that's what we're looking for. 5 stars, right? So, how are we going to go about doing that? I'm going to tell you, buy here, pay here dealership, your customer service has to be your business. If you treat that customer right with their car, treat them right as a human being, they're going to pay for it. They've got to have that to get to work. So I ask you the question, are you interested in making money or enhancing your customer's life? Or doing that? What's more important to you? I think we would all argue that enhancing our customer's life is a huge deal. Not everybody has it as easy as we do, right? So you need to find out, how is your dealership perceived in your community? Your online reputation matters. So if you look back, and when my dad started business in 85, of course, you didn't have to worry about a Google review, right? What you had to worry about was word of mouth. So you can look kind of how it goes up. In 04, maybe a little bit before that, we really started worrying about what was going on online with our reputation. 2012, this thing, around that time, SEO came up. Search engine optimization. How is that going to affect our business? And today, everything is affected by how many 5-star reviews you have or how many 1-star reviews you have. So I'm looking at my milestones, and I can go back and kind of find out exactly how it went up, because everything on the internet stays there forever, right? So our first online review was on Yahoo. Does everybody remember Yahoo? Okay. We had a customer that was traveling from Myrtle Beach back to Knoxville, Tennessee, and their car broke down. And their car was junk. I wouldn't have driven it from Knoxville, Tennessee to Myrtle Beach. That's a long way. We had a car that fit the bill of what they needed. A Ford Explorer, I think probably a 2000 model Ford Explorer. Well, they purchased that from us on their way back from vacation, maybe $3,500, $4,000. They drove it home, it made it home. Well, as soon as they got home, they left us a 5-star review. Or maybe not even 5-star back then on Yahoo. It was just a review, right? But it was a glowing review. 2012, we had our first negative review, and it was on Yelp. We repossessed a customer's car that didn't have insurance. It was a $15,000 Yukon Denali XL, riding around without insurance. I repossessed the car. That's probably the right thing to do, right? Well, she didn't think so. And that customer read us the riot act. I mean, she just got on us on Yelp. Well, we may have deserved it because we may not have reached out to the customer like we should have. We've since sold that customer a $50,000 Cadillac Escalade. So that one car, one bad review, we turned it into a positive. She changed the review on Yelp, and we've sold her another car. Around 2015, we really started getting Google reviews. In 16, late 15, early 16, I decided that reviews were so important, it needed to be part of our commission base. Then early 17, I said, I need one person on staff to make sure to head this project and get what we need to get when it comes to reviews. By the end of this year, we should be at 500 five-star Google reviews. And we have not paid a single software company anything to do that, okay? Because we set the motion, we set a path in motion for everyone to make sure that they do that. And it goes from the bottom to the top of our business. You need to know what your competition looks like around you. So you need to get online and you need to say, whatever town you're in, what are the highest ranked Google car dealers in this area? And have a chart if you want to. Make an Excel spreadsheet knowing what's going on. So if you look, I just grabbed some people in the Columbia and Lexington area. And we probably have one of the highest Google rankings in that area because we care about it. Do your research because your customer does their research before they do anything. Before they buy a taco, I'd be willing to bet you they're checking it out to see who has the best tacos in Columbia, right? Something we found out while putting this together that I didn't know. Customers can search independent car dealership, Columbia, South Carolina, or used car dealership, Columbia, South Carolina. And then after they do that, they can click, if you see right here, they can click and then decide, I don't want to see anybody with less than a 3.5 star rating. Anybody know that you could do that? I mean, that's impressive, right? Google cares so much that they will knock you out of the listing if they don't believe you're somebody that a customer needs to do business with. So it does matter. Something that I'm afraid that we don't ask enough in our industry as buy here, pay here dealers, our car business in general. Because you always hear everybody talking, well, that guy, we just made $4,000 on that guy or girl, and man, they didn't even know what they bought. I mean, how many times have y'all seen this happen or heard a sales staff say that? Or that customer couldn't buy a ham sandwich. They had a 400 beacon score. They're horrible, this, that, and other. Well, I say that everybody should be treated like they have a 700 beacon score. Every single one of our customers. And the reason that is because I know I want to be treated like that, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. When it comes to credit, it doesn't matter. Also, have they ever been wowed by an experience at a steakhouse or a hotel or buying a car? If you do wow them, what are they going to do for you? Who are they going to tell? I'd be willing to bet you if you wow a customer, that day they're going to go tell 10 people, right? And you can't quantify, you can't pay for that, guys. It's, wow every customer that walks on your lot. And make sure your sales staff are wowing them. If you see a sales staff person go and wail on a customer and they come back in and they just berate that customer, you probably need a new salesperson because their sales are going to go down and somebody's going to hear them say that and it's going to cost you more customers in the long run. I know it's hard to do sometimes. Customers can really irritate us, but you really got to listen to the culture inside of your dealership. So my question is, why hadn't it been asked? Why haven't buy here, pay here stores thought about their customer experience and how it's going to affect our business? What can we do to change it in our dealership? How can we make the customer experience at our dealership be the same as the customer experience at the $10 million Lexus facility right down the street, right? I have so many friends that I sell Lexus to, and when the car's still on warranty, they're taking it there for customer service. And they're wowed every time. They get a nice Lexus to drive while their car's in service. The place looks like a Taj Mahal. It's got free coffee. It's got marble floors. It's got all this. Well, why can't we do the same in our industry? So how hard is it to train an employee to treat others like they want to be treated? I don't think it's hard if you get the right person. So make sure that you're instilling that in every employee in your office. So what's the most important customer engagement at your dealership? Anybody want to take a guess? Like, who's the front line of your dealership? Anybody? Sales. That's right. And in buy here, pay here, it's also that's your front line, but then your secondary line is your collection department. So every time one of our employees interacts with somebody, you need to make sure they're doing it the right way. What can you do to ensure that their customer experience is great? Well, number one, you've got to hire the right person, right? And number two, you've got to make sure they are trained properly. So how do we determine if that customer experience is right? Well, we've already talked about that. We look at our reviews. You could probably see pretty easily if you're not doing something right. Because if you have Google My Business on your phone, you will know every time you get a review. Because it's going to send you a push notification going, hey, I've got a bad review. Or, hey, I just got a great review. So make sure that you know what's going on. And also look at the reviews from your other competitors. Watch the interactions between your employee and customers. And we've already kind of talked about that. But we'll come back to that in a second. Again, reviews are an indication of any problems that may exist. You will know really quickly if you've got someone in your store, in your service department or wherever, who's not doing their job properly, because it will show up online. They will leave a negative review. They may even leave a negative review about you, okay? Because it happens. You might fire the wrong staff member and get a bad review, because I've done that. I hired the wrong staff person to start with, okay? That's the reason I had to fire him, and that's the reason they ended up doing that. So reviews are going to give you that insight. Watch the interactions between your customers and your employees. If you've got an employee that you get constantly told they aren't doing their job properly, you've got a problem. You either need to take corrective actions with that employee or you need to get rid of that employee. And what we're talking about, are they in the correct role at your dealership? You may have someone, for instance, we had someone who probably pretty good at his job, but he's terrible at customer service. So, I had him in the perfect position, right? No, I didn't. I had him as that service advisor. And how many times did customers call me and say, hey, you got a real issue here? And I kept putting it off. And, I probably should have had him as a parts manager where he's not talking to customers. All he's dealing with is text. But I was hard-headed and I didn't do it. And, we probably lost, we didn't probably lose. We lost some of my really good customer pay customers because of him. Now, we're slowly getting them back. But I could have moved him long before and probably not had that problem. And finally, they may need to work somewhere else. That's the last thing you want to do, but every once in a while you need to get rid of somebody. All right, so what's your plan of action? I need 5-star Google reviews. I need 5-star Facebook reviews, or recommendations, I guess it is now. I need 5-star Yelp reviews. We're not going to go down the rabbit hole of Yelp right now because nobody in here is from Yelp, right? I think they're extortionists that don't know how to extort people. I figured as soon as I started paying Yelp money, they would probably recommend the 51 5-star Yelp reviews I have. They're not recommended, right? No, they don't even know how to take my money and do what I ask. So anyway, that's another rabbit hole. Plan of action. We got to train our staff how to deal with unhappy customers. Because you are going to have unhappy customers. I'm sorry, guys. Cars break, right? You're going to have a transmission go out tomorrow. You're going to have a radiator bust when it's 110 degrees outside in Columbia, South Carolina. You're going to have ACs quit, after the day after you sold the car in 110 degree, 85% humidity in Columbia, South Carolina. So to figure that out and to make sure that those unhappy customers don't stay unhappy for long, you need to empower your staff to make customers happy at the lowest levels of authority. What does that mean? I stole this from Bob Tasca, from the Tasca Forward book, if you hadn't read this. But if a technician takes a customer's car back for an oil change, and let's say their feet were dirty and they got in the car and they got a little bit of oil on the floorboard and he's rushing, he forgets about it, he takes the car back up front, and next thing you know, the service advisor misses it and they give it back to the customer and the customer is just flipping out, right? Oh my gosh, I've got beautiful tan carpet, now I've got this big black boot mark in the middle of it. What do you do? Well, let's say the only person that customer could find was the porter because everybody else is running around. I want that porter to be able to make it right. That porter should say, no problem, Mr. or Mrs. Customer. We're going to pull this right back here to detail. We're going to clean it up for you right now. That's what I'm talking about, the lowest level. If you've got a customer that's been a great customer, has paid every bill on time, and their car comes in and it's overheating and it's out of warranty, and they've had it for 2 years. I want my service, and the customer doesn't have any money, because that never happens in the buy here, pay here business, right? I want my service advisor to be able to make the call. How can we get this customer back on the road? Can I give this customer a loaner car while we're doing it? That's what I mean, guys. They shouldn't have to call me. They shouldn't have to call their manager. They should be able to make the customer happy right then. All right, so we're doing everything right, or we're doing everything wrong, and it's just going on, and we get a review. What do we do? How do we make sure that if we do get a review, we handle it properly? So, who in here has gotten a bad review that actually deserved the bad review? Everybody's hands should go up right now. Okay? We do not do everything right all the time, even though we may think we do. And we may be so mad at a customer that we deserve a bad review because we said something we shouldn't have said, or we didn't handle the situation properly because we were mad at the customer. So, if the review is less than expected, you should address the customer's issue immediately. And you shouldn't blame the customer. If the customer bought the car and they drove it and it started running hot and they kept driving it until it just fried the engine, and because they were trying to get to the hospital because their mama was in the hospital, sometimes life happens, right? Well, you don't go, well, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, you did this because of that. That's not necessarily the way to handle that, okay? That will lead to many bad reviews. Invite the customer to engage with you offline if you have an issue. If you get on Facebook and somebody goes, hey, Goblin Motors is a horrible place, this, that, and the other, they did this to my sister, very politely direct message that customer, or just say, hey, this is my phone number, this is my email, please contact me, let's see if we can make this right? Never berate or belittle the customer in a social media fight. That never works. We all know that, right? Don't ever do that. Most of the time, if you are doing business right, customers will come to your back. They will do it every time. If you start getting into a fight, it's going to make you look bad. So don't do it. Let your customers do that. Again, invite them to discuss this offline. Always thank your customers for good reviews. When you get a review, go on there immediately, address it, say, thank you so much. It was so enjoyable, to speak with you today. What can we do to make it, what can we do to make your experience better if it wasn't perfect? All this, just please respond to every review and make sure that we're doing it professionally. So in a 5-star review response, it's pretty simple. I love this review. I mean, she went on and on. She talked about the person she dealt with. I can remember this customer today. She came in. She wanted this big jacked up 2014 Ram we had, and she's a manager at Waffle House, and she's been there for like 5 years. And I'm like, what is this little lady wanting this big jacked up truck? Let's move her to something else, right? Well, I tried that. It didn't work. And I could tell she was getting mad. So I looked back over the application, and she goes, I came here because I want that truck. Well, we sold her that truck. That was 2 years ago. She's paying $500 something a month right now to do that. So I think we did the right thing. But I said, thanks for the kind words. It was great to meet you. And we made sure we got the truck you wanted. 1-star review. So, this one is not a deserved 1-star review. We repossessed this lady's car because she was a horrible, I think she was a first payment default. Just horrible. Well, she had left us a 5-star review when she left the office, okay? And so if you see, when she left a 5-star review, the first thing I said was, thanks for the review, and I thanked her for that review. Well, then after we repossessed her car and told her she needed to pay the car off to get it back, I don't even know if we told her that. I think we probably did anyway. She updated her review. We don't need to go down all the rabbit hole of what she was talking about. It's all lies. But I said, thanks for updating your review. I'd love to give our part of this story. Unfortunately, I will not share your private information online. Okay? Make sure you don't ever do that. Your story doesn't have a happy ending, and that makes us sad. I wish this was not the case, but sometimes it's best to break business ties for some customers. Because we all should fire customers every once in a while. Because it's just not going to work out. So Be nice. Be polite. When people see this, they know that probably what she said is not true, right? This one we deserve, okay? A Yelp review, and that son of a gun is still there, y'all. I've got 3 recommended Yelp reviews, 2 5 stars, 51 unrecommended 5 stars, mind you, and then this one flipping 1 star. She came to our lot, and I was out running this 200-mile race through South Carolina, this relay race. I didn't run 200 miles. And I saw it come through, and I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? Well, she saw us on TV, talk about how great we are. She got to our dealership, and the experience wasn't the same. There was a disconnect, right? The disconnect was I had a lazy, top-producing salesperson who sat in his office, and a lot of times on Friday he went out too late Thursday nights, and he slept in his office on Fridays. Okay? Well, that top performer no longer works for us, and we sell more cars, okay? So don't be afraid to get rid of somebody. But we addressed it. Hey, some people like to buy cars different ways, right? Some people like to let customers walk around. Some customers don't like that. Some dealerships sprint out to the customer, and they get there, and they say, hey, how can I help you? And what does that customer say? Just looking. Every time, right? So there's all kind of different ways. We won't even go down that rabbit hole of how we introduce. But if you do want to hear somebody that knows really how to handle that, Marshall Zoner right there, that guy can teach you something when it comes to sales processing. Anyway, we addressed everything she talked about. And we make sure now that that's not what happens. It still happens every once in a while because we get too busy. We had a review not long ago. Hey, nobody came out and waited on me. Well, we didn't have enough staff to wait on every customer. That does happen sometimes. Let's get better at that if you can. If you see a salesperson with someone and you're the only person left, walk out there and say hello to that customer. It's, just because you're an owner doesn't mean anything. Just go out there and say hello. Because in the end, you don't want a bad review because nobody helped the customer. Customer evangelism, that is what it's about. You want every customer that leaves your dealership to tell someone else, I just left Godwin Motors. They were wonderful. I want to make sure you buy a car from there. You want everybody that walks down the street to talk about Godwin Motors. So the way you get that is you have a wow experience. You have artful attentiveness to every customer you deal with. And make sure your staff does that too. And deliver what the customer expects. If they see a rosy television ad of me and my daughter talking about how great we are and how we finance you, not your credit, which is trademark. Please don't use that. I will sue you. Make sure that when they get to the dealership, that is what they're experiencing. If they're not, you need to train your staff better or you need more staff. So make sure that we do that. And take responsibility for customers' issue. If there's an issue that you missed during your inspection process, fix the problem. Be active in the customer's community. And this matters so much, y'all. Being active in your community is great, right? But your community and your customer's community may be two different things. We may live in a certain part of town that our customer can't afford to live in, We may go to a church that doesn't fit our customer's culture. So you need to make sure that not only you're involved in your community, be involved in your customer's community because that goes a long way. That's a sales promotion expense, not necessarily an expense. So make sure that you're doing that. Empower your employees to fix problems and fix customers' concern quickly. That is probably the biggest thing. If you let something just drag on and drag on and drag on, every day that you don't call that customer back, there's another day that customer is going to be mad. And you may leave 100 messages, and that customer may never call you back, but you did what you needed to do, and in a timely manner. Why now? Why do we need to focus on this now? Well, you need to focus on it because right now, a lot of our customers can go to a new car store and buy a car, right? But it's probably being financed for 84 months. So we know how that's going to end up, right? So they're going to have repossession on their record. And next thing you know, they're going to come back to us. But they've already had that new car store experience. So when they come back to us, their experience may not be what they have experienced. So we need to make sure that we treat every buy here, pay here customer, or any customer, period, if you're retail, whatever, like you want to be treated every day. So, what are we going to do? Step one, we're going to train and empower our employees. That's number one. When you go back, you need to train. Every week, every day. If you see somebody not doing what they're supposed to be doing, talk to them about it. Don't berate them. And verify your employees are going above and beyond in everything they do. Again, if that oil change tech brings that car up there, make sure that they are looking to make sure they didn't get anything dirty. So if you've got a detail guy and he walks a lot every day and sees a car's dirty, my detail guy comes to me and says, hey, Luke, I need to grab the keys to that. I detailed it. I need to get it back to detail. It's just not looking right. If a customer's car comes in and the detail guy sees it as kind of dirty, he may try to upsell. You may get a customer pay detail out of that. So say, hey, we're running a special day. Can we detail your car? So make sure you're going above and beyond. And ask for reviews, guys and gals. The number one way to ensure you're not going to get a 5-star review is not to ask for one. So incorporate it into your pay plans and make sure everybody on staff is doing it. And so this is a new term that I just heard the other day, but it's social proof. And that is, how are you viewed on the web to your customers? It's the proof of life. If somebody wants to go and think about it that way, but it's the proof of your business on social media. And we want it to be better than everybody else's, right? The payoff of doing this is more sales, because you're going to rank higher in Google. You're going to appear more in Facebook. It's going to be better for everybody. Better collections. If you're treating your customers properly, I guarantee your collection rate's going to go up. If you're repossessing a bunch of cars because they're broke down, well, there might be a reason they broke down and you repossessed them, and it may not be the customer's fault. So if you bring this all the way to your recon staff, you bring this all the way to your collection staffs, you're going to make more money from better collections. And brand extensions. What I mean by that is if your brand in your area, in Columbia, South Carolina, we have a good brand. If I decide that I want to open up a standalone oil change center, I'm already going to have that social proof. I'm already going to have that brand recognition. If you're really good at it and you have, an awesome logo, you may sell merchandise from it. So there's all kind of different things that the payoff comes from. So, again, we're just going back to this. If you look, customer-friendly business leads to great social proof and increases your bottom line. So the original question I asked was, are you interested in making money or enhancing your customer's life? You can do both. It's not a either or. It is one leads to the other. Make sure that you start with a customer-friendly business. Again, what now? Audit your reviews when you get home. Respond to any reviews you have not done. Do this over the next several weeks. If you've got 100 reviews sitting there and you never responded to one, that's going to be daunting. Don't do it all at one time. Break it down 10 a day or 5 a day, whatever you need to do to get it done, but do it. Define a plan for getting reviews and train your employees to ask for reviews. I'm not saying not using a Podium type of software, because, it makes it easy. And it makes it easy for your customer, it makes it easy for your staff. But incentivize your staff, make processes that your staff knows they have to do every time to get those 5-star reviews. Audit your collection department's attitude. I did not go down that rabbit hole because I didn't think we had time. But your collection staff, you need to hear what they're saying to your customers. Okay? And if one collector gets multiple emails to you from customers, or you hear it all the time, oh man, I really hate that collector's calling me. Well, number one, they're avoiding your collector's phone call, so they're not collecting as much money as they can. Number two, they're going to lead to more repos, and they're going to lead to bad reviews. So I want you to hear what your collectors are saying to your customers. If they're out of line, you call them in. You got to read and study, guys. There's a ton of books which I'm about to go over, but this, some of us aren't the happiest people in the world, right? But some of us are. So read, learn, create a process, follow the process. Bob Tasker Sr., he said, you need to decide how you want to go through life. dismissing problems, dismissing that your service department, they do everything right. Or fixing those problems. My service department didn't do something right. Let's fix it. How you choose to look at problems will define in large part how successful you become. Bob Tasca is probably the most successful car dealer ever, I would think. So, read and study. 6 books that I would recommend. The top one is The New Gold Standard. That book is about Ritz-Carlton. Has anybody in here stayed at Ritz-Carlton? Raise your hand. Come on, we're car dealers. Of course we stayed at Ritz-Carlton. Get your hands up. So anyway, have you ever been dissatisfied about your stay at Ritz-Carlton? Never. And let me tell you, that book goes through it. It's an easy read. Do it. You will be satisfied by Bob Tasca. I quoted him. He was a Ford dealer, a Lincoln dealer. You got to read this book. It is a must for every car dealer. The Go-Giver discusses about giving within your community. It's a great book as well. There's Bob Berg does a podcast as well. I would recommend you listen to that podcast weekly. Great interviews. The Sensational Salesman is kind of like The Go-Giver. Dwayne Cummins, I met this guy, a really cool guy. It's a good book to read. All these are really easy books you should be able to read on the flight home probably. Exceeding Customer Expectations. This is the story of Enterprise and the founder of Enterprise Rental Cars. It is a great story. You need to read this book if you hadn't, if you're in the car business. And The Dream Manager is a new book that I was turned on to not long ago. And it's a really good book that talks about how to keep your customers happy and keep your employees happy and retain your employees. We know what the cost is not to retain your employees. If you have happy employees, I guarantee you will get 5-star reviews. And there's my contact information. And we have about 10 minutes for questions.
Can you explain how you pay for
Yeah.
reviews?
Very good question. So, we've done it multiple ways. So right now it's a tiered system. 1 to 5-star reviews in a month will get you $150, $150. 6 to 15. 6 to 15 will get you $250. 16 up will get you $300 or $350. We had to modify that just a little bit because I have one salesperson. She's a rock star, y'all. And I was paying $25 per review. And one month she got like 50 reviews, which I'm not saying is not a good thing. It's a great thing. But it was, in my opinion, it probably should have, I didn't give her parameters. And the one thing I found about really great salespeople, if you don't give them parameters, they will figure out your pay plan and they will work it to death. So do what makes sense to you. But I think $25 is, for review, if they're getting 10 to 15 is not a bad process. So our pay plan goes, it's slotted flats. If you hit a certain number, you get, let's say, $175 a car. Well, then you get to add on if you sold GAP, if you sold extended service contract and a review. So the salesperson could end up making close to $300 a car if they hit all the bases. Back there? We don't, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's built into the process of our closing department. So if you sit in our office in closing, you're asked to leave a review right then. Not everybody does. You're not going to force people, but you say, hey, I really would love for you to leave a review before you left if we did our job properly. If we didn't do our job properly, you tell us, and we'll fix it. Not everybody does it, but a good majority will. If our closing person does it the right way, they will get the review. If they don't do it the right way, they won't. Thanks.
First, naively, I have to tell you that I didn't even know you were responsible for the review.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, I did not know that. But, so how would you respond? We have only a couple of ones, but one of them was a review that I wanted to test drive a 350Z, and they told me I had to be over 25, worst experience ever. And another one was they sent me home to get a paycheck set up, and then when I got back, I didn't have a utility bill on my name,
No. No, you want to give your policies and procedures at that point. Customer, I'm really sorry you came in and looked at 350Z. Unfortunately, our insurance regulations requires a person to be 25 years or older to drive such and such car. That's pretty simple. We won't let someone test drive a car without a filled out credit app, okay? And to make sure they can afford that car. But it's all about telling the customer what experience they should see. We had one the other day that, the same type of situation where the customer came in and they had a 200,000 mile Jaguar that they thought was worth $4,000, right? Shocker. Well, MMR said it was a $200 car. Okay? Well, I knew it wasn't a $200 car, but I also knew it wasn't a $4,000 car. We told them $1,000, which I thought was very nice. Well, said, hey, and this customer bought a car from us didn't buy that Jag from us. But we said, hey, you need this, this, and this so we can get everything processing. Great, I'm leaving, I'll be back in a little bit. Well, they didn't come back. They just left a 1-star review. So, again, I said, hey, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry the experience you had didn't match what we were supposed to do. We can explain our process. We can explain how we came up with that $1,000 offer for your car, but it didn't deserve a 1-star review, but we got one. Make sure you stick to the facts. You give your policies and procedures, and then you don't have anything to feel sorry about because you did your job. You explained it to the customer, and you explained it to every other customer is what you really did. Who cares if that 1-star review customer ever walks back in the door? What you want to see is that other customers are looking at your reviews, see what your policy and procedures are, and that maybe that person didn't follow it. Who else? Yes, sir.
Why do you choose to offset your salesperson when you call them some of the service or I'm assuming that's less cost?
I'd rather give the money to my sales staff. I mean, it's that simple. Because I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to pay my sales staff on top of paying Podium as well. So I think Podium is a wonderful product. But I think I can develop a process and pay my staff the same amount of money rather than paying Podium. And I think if I pay my staff the same amount of money, I get more reward out of that. That's it. But I think if you use Podium, you're going to probably end up paying your sales staff a little bit for it too. You were going to ask a question? Okay. That's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that. But I think that you will see that the reviews that are essentially every time a customer leaves your car lot and they're getting this text and they're leaving you a review, I think that you'll get plenty of 5-star reviews. I just don't know that those 5-star reviews will talk about the sales staff and the experience they have with that sales staff. So I think that might be a difference as well. We have people that walk in our dealership every day that say, I want to speak to Isaac or I want to speak to Sarita because I saw their reviews online. So I think there probably is a different inequality. I do. I don't know that answer. The question was, does responding to the review help your SEO? I'd think that's probably a question for Google, and they may not even know that answer. What it does is this: it knows that it allows other customers to know that you care. So if you just get all these 5-star reviews and you're not responding, well, if I'm looking at that, I go, that's a little weird that the company didn't care enough to respond to those reviews. That's what I would say. I would argue that Google is social media. Maybe not to the level of Facebook. we get tons of Facebook reviews as well. Recommendations, not reviews anymore. I don't know how much longer Facebook is going to be a dominant force in social media. Would be kind of an argument I would have there, and I'd rather have. I don't think Google's going anywhere, and I think it matters more there. Honestly, I think Google is your number one search engine, followed by YouTube, which is owned by Google, is your second major search engine. So if a customer's searching, I don't even know how to search on Facebook. If I was searching for something, I wouldn't have a clue. But I do know how to open my Google app and type in best restaurant near me. I know how to do that. So I think you get more bang for your buck from Google, honestly, with a review. Anybody else? Oh, one second. Yep. We get that too. But unfortunately, competitors do things like that sometimes. Okay, and unfortunately, people get the wrong place sometimes. What we do is this: Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we've looked through all of our logs. We log everyone who walks on our lot. We don't have any record of you being here. But if this is the experience you got from us, we're sorry. Here's my email address. Please contact me immediately. And then you get the ones who are just 1 stars. That's it. There's no reasoning. They just click the 1 star and they go on about their business. And it's a fake name. You don't know who it is. So if I get somebody who gives a 1 star and they don't have any response, or they didn't type out anything, just click the 1 star. This is what we do. We go, hey, we're so sorry that you felt like you need to give us a 1-star review. But we cannot improve our processes and fix the problem that you experienced unless you tell us why. And that makes it, there's a reasoning behind that. You want to show that you care. And that's all it's about. It's about showing every customer that looks at that review that you care enough to respond and you care enough to try to fix the process that you messed up. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and that's for 100%. You're gonna get reviewed wrong sometimes, and it may go to the 5-star side or it may go to 1-star side. You're gonna get those reviews. And by the way, I didn't go over this, but a 3-star review and a 4-star review is not a bad thing. Okay, Alexa gets all in a tizzy sometimes. That customer left us a 4-star review. Well, that's okay. It shows realness, because every customer. There's some customers. It don't matter what you do, you're not gonna get a 5-star. You're not gonna do it. You had one question. Sure. Yeah. And that is good. Yes, but that could happen anywhere. I mean, we're selling cars. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that one bit. Yeah. So, we'll probably repossess 70 cars this year, something like that. Okay. Maybe 80. Every single one of those customers, not every single one, but I think our review penetration is probably 70%, something 60 to 70%. You think? We don't. That one I had up there is one that's changed their review from a 5-star to a 1-star because we repossessed their car. So I don't think it's a legitimate concern. If you're taking care of the customer, customers who have their cars repossessed typically know why they got their cars repossessed. Sometimes they don't, but a lot of times they do. One more question, maybe? Anybody? Well, thank y'all so much. I really appreciate y'all being here. Thank you.